During the Second World War, photographs of German soldiers often show them carrying a distinctive metal cylinder slung over the shoulder or strapped to their gear. To modern viewers, it can look mysterious, almost like a piece of scientific equipment or an explosive device. But this object was neither secret weapon nor advanced technology. It was the standard issue gas mask canister, officially designed to hold the German army's gas mask. From the early campaigns in Poland to the final battles in Berlin, this cylinder became as much a part of the German soldier's silhouette as his rifle or steel helmet. The reason for its constant presence was rooted in the deep psychological scars left by the First World War. During that earlier conflict, chemical weapons had caused horrific casualties on all sides. German military planners, remembering the choking clouds of chlorine and mustard gas, feared that the next war would again see widespread chemical warfare. As a result, every soldier was equipped with protective gear from the very beginning of hostilities. The cylinder was not optional. It was considered essential survival equipment. Even when chemical attacks did not materialize on the Western Front during World War II, the German High Command maintained strict regulations requiring soldiers to keep their masks within reach. Thus, the mysterious cylinder was actually a precaution born of past trauma, a silent reminder of the brutal lessons learned in the trenches of the Great War. The official name for the container was the Maskenbuchse, and it was engineered with remarkable German precision. Typically made of lightweight metal, the cylinder featured a screw-on lid secured by a clamp mechanism to ensure an airtight seal. Inside it housed the German gas mask, commonly the M30 or later M38 model. These masks were produced by various manufacturers across Germany and were standardized to ensure uniform protection against chemical agents. The mask itself was made of rubberized material, designed to fit tightly against the face, with round glass eye lenses for visibility. A filter canister attached to the front allowed the wearer to breathe safely in contaminated air. The cylindrical container protected the mask from dirt, damage, and moisture, critical factors that could compromise its effectiveness. Soldiers were trained to don the mask within seconds during drills, often under simulated gas attack conditions. The canister also included spare anti-fog lenses and sometimes cleaning cloths. Though it appeared simple, the Maskenbuchse reflected the German military's methodical approach to equipment design. It balanced durability with portability, ensuring that every infantryman could carry life-saving protection without excessive burden. The cylinder's uniform shape made it easy to stack, transport, and distribute across units. Germany's fear of chemical warfare in World War II was not unfounded. In World War I, German forces themselves had pioneered large-scale chemical attacks, notably at Ypres in 1915. The devastating effects of chlorine gas shocked the world and escalated a new dimension of warfare. By 1939, all major powers possessed chemical stockpiles, including Britain, the Soviet Union, and Germany. Adolf Hitler, who had personally experienced a gas attack in 1918, was reportedly reluctant to initiate chemical warfare unless provoked. Nonetheless, contingency plans existed on all sides. German soldiers entering Poland in 1939 and later France in 1940 were fully equipped with gas masks, anticipating potential retaliation. The presence of the cylinder symbolized readiness for a threat that, fortunately for Europe, largely never came to pass on the battlefield. Chemical weapons were used in limited theaters and horrific contexts, but not in the sweeping battlefield exchanges many had feared. The constant carrying of gas masks demonstrates how militaries often prepare extensively for weapons that ultimately remain unused. For the German soldier, the cylinder was both insurance policy and psychological comfort. Even in the deserts of North Africa and the freezing expanses of the Eastern Front, regulations required its presence, though many soldiers eventually discarded it when the anticipated gas attacks failed to materialize. Beyond its intended purpose, the gas mask cylinder gradually found secondary uses among German troops. Soldiers are practical by nature, and in the chaos of war, equipment often takes on new functions. Some troops used the empty cylinder to carry personal items, food rations, cleaning kits, or even captured souvenirs. In long campaigns where chemical threats seemed unlikely, the mask itself might be removed to lighten the load, leaving the canister as a convenient storage container. On the Eastern Front, where logistical shortages were common, improvisation became essential. Soldiers sometimes repurposed the cylinder as a cooking container or makeshift water carrier. Though not officially sanctioned, Such adaptations reflected the harsh realities of prolonged warfare. Photographs from later years of the war occasionally show soldiers without the cylinder, suggesting that discipline regarding its carriage loosened over time, particularly in 1944 and 1945. As Germany faced overwhelming pressure from Allied forces, strict adherence to equipment regulations diminished. Supplies were scarce, and survival needs often outweighed protocol. Nevertheless, the cylinder remained one of the most recognizable items of the German uniform. Its iconic shape has become embedded in historical imagery, often misunderstood by those unfamiliar with its true function. The gas mask inside the cylinder was a carefully designed piece of protective technology. The German M38 mask featured a molded rubber facepiece that sealed tightly around the nose and mouth. Adjustable straps ensured a snug fit for different facial structures. The eye lenses were made from glass inserts held in metal frames, sometimes with anti-fog coatings to maintain visibility during extended wear. The filter canister contained layers of activated charcoal and chemical absorbents, designed to neutralize toxic gases. Engineers tested these filters against known chemical agents to ensure effectiveness. Soldiers underwent regular inspections to confirm that their masks were in working condition. The importance of maintenance could not be overstated, as a faulty seal or expired filter could prove fatal. Training emphasized speed and calmness under pressure. Men practiced putting on masks within seconds at the sound of an alarm. This routine was deeply ingrained in military culture during the early war years. While gas attacks did not become common in Europe during World War II, the technological development invested in protective equipment demonstrated how seriously nations regarded the threat. The gas mask was a silent safeguard, and its cylindrical carrier ensured it remained ready for immediate use. The psychological dimension of the gas mask cylinder is often overlooked. For soldiers who had grown up hearing stories from veterans of the First World War, chemical weapons represented one of the most terrifying aspects of modern combat. The mere possibility of gas attacks created anxiety. Carrying the mask provided reassurance, a tangible means of defense against an invisible enemy. Military leadership understood this psychological value, even when intelligence suggested a low likelihood of chemical warfare. Removing the masks might have signaled vulnerability. In this sense, the cylinder symbolized preparedness and discipline. It reinforced the image of a professional army ready for any contingency. Propaganda imagery frequently depicted well-equipped soldiers, their cylinders visible as proof of readiness. The German regime sought to portray its forces as technologically advanced and fully prepared. Thus, the cylinder became part of a broader narrative about military strength. Ironically, the item most associated with fear, protection against poison gas, also served as a symbol of confidence. It bridged past trauma with present determination. Interestingly, Allied forces carried similar equipment. British and American troops also received gas masks, often stored in satchels rather than metal cylinders. The difference in container design contributed to the German cylinder's distinctive appearance. The British small box respirator, for example, was carried in a canvas bag. American masks were often kept in lightweight pouches. The German metal canister, however, was more rigid and visually striking. Its cylindrical form made it easily identifiable in photographs and films. This visual distinctiveness has sometimes led to misconceptions, with some modern observers speculating about hidden weapons or secret devices. In reality, it was simply a different design philosophy. German industry favored durable, standardized metal components. The canister could withstand rough handling and harsh climates. Whether in the forests of Poland, the sands of Libya, or the snow of Russia, the cylinder protected its contents effectively. This durability came at the cost of additional weight, which soldiers sometimes resented. Nonetheless, it reflected the broader German emphasis on engineering reliability. As the war progressed, and the expected gas warfare failed to appear, enforcement of carrying the cylinder became inconsistent. On the Eastern Front, especially during the brutal fighting against the Soviet Union, soldiers often prioritized ammunition, food, and winter clothing over gas protection. Some units officially allowed the removal of the mask and canister during active combat operations. In North Africa, under the command of Erwin Rommel, the extreme heat made additional equipment burdensome, and practical adjustments were sometimes tolerated. Yet official doctrine never completely abandoned gas preparedness. German planners feared that desperate enemies might resort to chemical weapons late in the war. The fact that large-scale gas warfare did not erupt in Europe remains one of the war's few mercies. Historians often debate whether mutual deterrence prevented its use. All sides possessed stockpiles, but retaliation risks were immense. Thus, the cylinder represents a weapon that shaped planning without shaping battlefields. Today, surviving gas mask cylinders are common artifacts in museums and private collections. Their paint often bears unit markings or camouflage patterns. Collectors prize them as tangible relics of wartime history. Without context, however, the object can seem enigmatic. Its plain metal exterior reveals little about its life-saving purpose. Yet understanding its function sheds light on the broader anxieties of 20th century warfare. It tells a story not of aggression, but of fear. Fear of unseen chemicals drifting across trenches or fields. It reminds us that war planning often revolves around worst-case scenarios. For the German soldier, the cylinder was never glamorous. It was simply part of daily routine, slung over the shoulder as naturally as a bread bag or ammunition pouch. In conclusion, the cylinder carried by German soldiers throughout World War II was not a secret device but a gas mask container. Inside was protective, equipment designed to shield the wearer from chemical attack. Its constant presence stemmed from memories of World War I and the anticipation of similar horrors. Though chemical warfare on European battlefields did not reach the scale many feared, the precaution remained. The cylinder became an iconic feature of the German uniform, symbolizing preparedness, engineering precision, and the lingering shadow of past trauma. What appeared mysterious was, in truth, a simple but vital safeguard, one shaped by history's harshest lessons. As the war deepened and spread across continents, the German gas mask cylinder also reflected the broader militarization of society under Adolf Hitler. Civil defense organizations distributed gas masks not only to soldiers, but also to civilians, particularly in major cities like Berlin and Hamburg. Air raid precautions included gas mask drills, and children were sometimes issued smaller versions. The trauma of the First World War had convinced planners that the next conflict would blur the line between front and home front. Though Allied bombing raids devastated German cities, chemical weapons were never deployed in those attacks. Still, the preparation reveals how deeply the fear of gas permeated society. The soldier's cylinder, therefore, was part of a nationwide system of readiness. It connected the battlefield with the civilian population in a shared expectation of chemical danger. This culture of preparedness influenced training manuals, propaganda films, and recruitment materials. Images of disciplined troops carrying their protective gear reinforced the regime's message that Germany would not be caught unprepared again. Production of the Maskenbuchse also highlights the industrial mobilization of the German war economy. Factories across the Reich manufactured millions of canisters and masks in the years leading up to and during the war. Standardization simplified logistics, ensuring that filters and replacement parts could be issued efficiently to units from France to Soviet Union. However, as resources dwindled in the later years of the conflict, material quality sometimes declined. Early war canisters were often sturdier, while later examples show thinner metal and simplified construction. This subtle shift mirrors the broader trajectory of Germany's wartime fortunes. In 1939 and 1940, confidence and abundance characterized the Wehrmacht. By 1944 and 1945, shortages affected nearly every aspect of military supply. Even so, the gas mask container remained part of official kit lists until the end, demonstrating how seriously German planners regarded the chemical threat, even when other needs pressed more urgently. The cylinder also had tactical implications. In certain combat situations, its rigid shape could interfere with movement, especially when crawling or maneuvering in tight spaces. Veterans later recalled that it sometimes rattled or caught on obstacles, revealing a soldier's position. As a result, many troops modified how they carried it, adjusting straps or repositioning it behind their backs. These small adaptations show the tension between regulation and battlefield reality. Military doctrine is often rigid, but survival demands flexibility. Over time, frontline units developed their own practices regarding the cylinder. Some commanders enforced strict compliance. Others prioritized combat efficiency. The divergence between policy and practice widened as Germany's strategic position deteriorated. Yet despite these variations, photographs from Normandy to the Balkans consistently show the familiar outline of the canister. In post-war memory, The gas mask cylinder became a visual shorthand for the German infantrymen of World War II. Films, documentaries, and reenactments often include it as an essential costume element. Its presence immediately situates the viewer in the era of total war. Historians examining equipment and logistics use it as an example of how expectations of chemical warfare shaped military planning. The cylinder tells a story not just of what happened, but of what was feared. It symbolizes a conflict prepared for horrors that, in some cases, never unfolded on the anticipated scale. That absence does not diminish its significance. Instead, it highlights how deterrence and mutual fear can influence decisions as powerfully as actual combat. Ultimately, the German soldier's cylinder contained something simple yet profoundly important: a gas mask designed to preserve life in the face of unseen threats. It represented lessons learned from the trenches of 1914-1918 and carried forward into a new global conflict. Though it rarely fulfilled its intended purpose in Europe during World War II, its constant presence shaped training, logistics, and psychology. What seems mysterious at first glance is, in reality, a testament to preparedness born of bitter experience. The metal cylinder was not a weapon, but a shield, quiet, practical, and symbolic of an age haunted by chemical warfare.